Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Accelerator with Michael Conniff. That's me, as you might have guessed. And we are a podcast that makes no recommendations to buy or sell or do anything with your money. But what we do is bring entrepreneurs, startups, and founders together with angels, venture capitalists, family offices, investment firms, people with the money. So we try to sit right in the middle of that. And today we are lucky to have a very interesting founder, Aditya Sharma. Welcome, Aditya. Good to have you.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thanks a lot for your time. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. Aditya is the CEO and founder of I guess I would call it a human resources and training platform called HiCounselor. How would you describe it?
So, Michael, HiCounselor is an online career accelerator for recent grads and early stage professionals who want to kick off.
Career accelerator. Okay, good. That's a
Yes.
better way to put it. Okay. And
Yep.
um, and I just want to one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the program is that this is not necessarily my sweet spot at all, but I was really impressed by some of the things you told me about where you are. So a couple of things are that you have helped 140 people land jobs. At the A week ago, that was a 100% success rate, um, and that you have an interesting way of billing customers. The customers are the people you are placing in jobs. You get 9% of their first year's salary, or you can sell upskill. You call upskilling to them for $3,000 over 6 months. Now, the key to this, I'm going to really paraphrase it, then I'm going to let you tell us in detail. But the key to this is you have a very tight focus on certain sectors, technology and software sectors. You have a very tight focus on training people before you send them out for a job. And so consequently, you have metrics like they're getting 10 times more interviews. They're getting jobs within 5 to 6 weeks instead of more like 6 months. So you've had great results, and you're in the middle of a pre-seed round. I think you've raised 1.25 million so far. Is that up to date?
Yeah, I mean, we are raising 1.75 million and we have already secured 1.25 from two VC firms and two angel groups.
And those VCs are, I believe, Heroic Ventures and Aria Fund. And who are the angels? Tell us about them.
Yeah, so there are two angel groups. One is Golden Nivesh. So in this angel group, there are three main partners. One is the managing director at Deloitte. Another one is head of Wipro America. And third one is a very senior leader at Allstate Insurance. So having investment from these people also gives us like a mentor, right, who can help us
Mhm.
get into these enterprise companies. That was the purpose. And the another angel group is a Super Morpheus. They are based out of India. It's a group of unicorn founders back in India, very successful serial entrepreneurs and investors. They recently all came together and started investing in edtech and fintech domain. That's where we came across, and that gives us access to highly technical people because we are a tech product. We always need uh, excellent developers and technical people. So getting connected with Supermorphis gives us an opportunity to tap into the technical talent market.
Now you're a Duke graduate.
Mhm.
We've established that in a previous conversation. So you've got educated in America, at least in part. What made you come up with this idea? I should also mention you're formerly of Deloitte yourself. But what led to the genesis of this idea? What made you think that you could fill a gap here?
So, Michael, what happened? So, I was born and raised back in India, did my undergrad in engineering from one of the very reputed universities in India. And after that, I scored pretty decent in GRE to get an admission at Duke University, right? And I got into Master of Engineering Management program at Duke. But even after graduating from Duke, uh, it was not very easy for me to land a job. I remember I applied to hundreds of online applications, but online application is nothing but a black hole. You keep on applying, there is no response rate. Even when I got some of the interviews through some campus career fairs, right, at Duke, And I don't think many universities have this campus career fair in the US. It's not very common. But even when I got those interviews, I was not ready to crack those interviews, right? And then it became a struggle of about 4 to 6 months, which was a very tiring and frustrating. And I believe that if I had spent that time understanding more about my curriculum, understanding, like enjoying more of that school uh, education part, right, that would have been much more fruitful than just applying online every single day, tweaking your resume. That's not the right way. And
So
that
even
told
if I could interrupt, so even though you were well educated,
Yep.
well trained in many respects, you feel like you still weren't ready, and that's the kind of the impulse you've brought into this business, right?
There are two reasons because of which any job seeker struggles, and because of which I struggled. First is you're not prepared from an interview perspective. Okay, being
Mm.
educated and knowledgeable is different, and prepared from an interview perspective is different. Okay, second is recent graduates do not have strong professional network to get the interview opportunities. Right? Imagine when I came to the US, I had no connections here that I can call and say, "Hey, can I get the interview opportunity?" and I get a referral. Right? I mean, and this is the situation with 90% of people, not just international candidates, even with Americans, right, or people who have spent many many years here. They don't have that many contacts, so all they rely upon is online application, which doesn't work. So network and right preparation for interview are the two factors that your university don't provide.
And you felt you didn't have those. So where did you end up getting your first job?
So again, it was a long hustle, but in that hustle, I learned a lot about this job market on how to prepare for interview. And second thing is networking. I started building my network. Took me about 4 months, trust me, to learn how to actually effectively network. And now I believe that it should have been communicated by my university career center. They should have told me and taught me on the very first day, right?
So,
That
so how did you so how should one network? So
exactly.
so you're an expert on this now. So how should people do it?
So people look, there are multiple ways of doing networking. People who are in universities, definitely they should reach out to their alumni. But again, LinkedIn is so, uh, I mean, LinkedIn is so saturated that anyone can click on a connect button and people do not care about it, right? So the best way of networking is first of all email networking. Okay. If you don't have any connections, you don't have any relatives that can refer you, the best way is email networking. Reach out to people directly who's working in your target role and target company and ask for a 15 minutes information call. Request, say that, hey Michael, I just came across a data analyst position at your company. It would be great if you can connect just for a 15 minutes information call. I would love to know more about your company and this job position. And you'll find that people will come back to you. Not everyone would get back to you. It is also important to understand, but there would be a good chunk of people who are more than willing to help. Michael, when people see, when people like who are senior software developers who have spent most of their life sitting on just laptop writing code, one day when an email pop up in their inbox saying that, hey, I'm a young budding engineer, I'm looking for a help, would you mind helping me? There would be a lot of people who would come back to you.
And so you're let's talk about your target. You didn't tell me what your where your first job was. You ducked that question. Where was your first job?
My first job was at PricewaterhouseCoopers. So I was a
Oh,
Duke and I started networking. I started networking left and
wow.
right, found a lot of ways to optimize it. And I remember I connected with a gentleman. His name was Jeff Reisky. He was a senior associate at PwC. And Jeff, I had a very good conversation with Jeff. And Jeff referred me. I got my first interview and then my first job at PwC. And
So what?
even
Yeah, go ahead.
Mhm. Sorry, and one more thing I want to add here. That's how I got my job at PwC, and the same process I followed to get my second job at Deloitte. I reached
Mm.
out to somebody working at Deloitte, explained that I'm really interested, had a very good conversation, referred, got a job offer within 4 days.
But you probably were starting to realize you were an entrepreneur at heart, is my guess. And um, you saw this. So this company really comes right out of your personal experience. But one of the things I really like about what you're doing is you're not trying to be all things to all people. You have picked a specific target market. So explain that with as much precision as you can. Who should use HiCounselor, your company?
So our focus is right now on the tech roles. Even in tech roles, we are focusing on four categories. Software people who are looking for a job in software engineering, like front end, back end, full stack role. People who are looking for a job in data category, like data analyst and data scientist. And third is product management. And fourth is techno functional roles. Techno functional
I'm
roles,
sorry,
I
what's
mean,
that? What is that last one again? Say that a little slower.
so the last one is techno functional roles.
Okay, techno functional.
Roles. So in techno-functional roles, you can think of like Salesforce consultant at any big four consulting firm. That's a role that requires a background in technology as well as requires some functional or the managerial knowledge.
Mhm.
That's where we'll be growing. So right now we help people land a job in Salesforce consulting. Very soon, probably in the next 3 to 4 months, we are jumping into three other major categories like Guidewire platform, Phineos platform, Duck Creek, uh, Oracle Cloud CRM, right? So these are all techno functional roles. And Michael, there is so much massive demand of these technologies in the market that young graduates who struggle to
Mhm.
land a job, if we can equip them with these technical skills in just 4 to 6 weeks, they would be super employable in the market.
And let's talk about what the process of upskilling is. Upskilling. So you take somebody not unlike yourself coming out of school, pretty smart, pretty knowledgeable, pretty well trained, but not specifically ready for the interview, no real business network. But there's this other piece, which is precise skills that the marketplace is demanding at a specific time. So, what are those skills and how do you teach them?
So, for example, Salesforce is a super hot technical skill right now in the market. Okay. So, any recent graduate who has some background in technology, right, or some background in management studies, right? Uh, a lot of candidates apply to our platform, and we have our next Salesforce cohort starting in 7 days from now, in a week from now. So, the way we structure it is, so we provide these technical skills in a 4 weeks of time span. Every day, 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific, we have a live instructor-led classes, okay, in which we teach Salesforce. And the instructors that we have in our class is a real professional who's currently working as a Salesforce consultant. For example, a manager from Deloitte or a senior manager from PwC or a partner from Ernst& Young will be teaching our candidates live. Now, a part of our training curriculum is that we do not believe in teaching just academic knowledge or bookish information. Rather than everything that we teach in our session, that is related to what you will be doing in your real job. And that's what make it different, right? That you, when you will go to interviews, you can literally say, as a consultant, I can do these 20 things. You can ask and I can perform it. Okay. Now, to ensure how candidates are in good standing to perform those tasks, at HiCounselor, in parallel to the training program, we run a live industry project. Okay, a project that is live right now that a company is working in, which our students work as a consultant. Every day they get tasks. Every end of the day they have to report, deploy, submit their finished items, and that's how they work as a consultant for about 1.5 months with us, right? So imagine when they join any company, they are not raw material, they are finished products.
Okay, well, maybe not finished products, but certainly polished products, let's
Much
say.
polished. That's much
Right.
better.
I don't think
Yeah.
it can be totally finished in 6 weeks, but nonetheless, the approach is persuasive. Now, what does the business look like today in terms of revenue, and what are your projections for the coming years?
So in terms of revenue, currently we are at 3.5 million booking run rate, about 1.2 million in revenue run rate. We have grown about 30 to 40% every quarter in the last 1 year. And we are at a point where we have built the entire infrastructure and technology to grow from this point. Uh, Again, we are looking at about 40 to 50% growth quarter over quarter for the next 3 quarters. Last year, we helped about 250 to 300 candidates in their job search process. We onboarded about 250 to 300 candidates. This year, we are expecting to help about 2,000 candidates in
Wow.
their job search process. We are looking to grow about 10x.
And the scalability of it, I think you have 16 people now, three in the US, the rest in India. But the scalability owes a lot to what I would call the Zoom model, where you can teach people virtually. So you don't have to, you can add bodies without adding instructors. You can have the same instructor teach 500 or 600 people. But what do you think revenues will look like at the end of 2022 and then beyond? What do you look? What are you predicting?
So we are looking at revenue of about 24 million by end of this year, and about 68 million by end of next year.
Mhm.
Uh, so that's where we are growing. And as I said, in once we establish ourselves into 10 main technical skills, say by end of this year, our growth rate would become even more faster as we move forward.
Okay, well, it's very impressive. Now, what about competition? What do you worry about when you go to bed at night? Who do you worry about?
Who do I
Other than
worry
other
about?
than other than how Kyle Sigler is going to be coaching the Duke basketball team, what do you worry about in terms of the competition?
So in terms of competition, it's a pretty healthy competition out in the market. We have primarily we consider two or three companies. One is Pathrise, which is a YC funded company funded by a lot of other VCs. Uh, but I think we have done a pretty great job that now candidates leave our competitors and join HiCounselor, although it's been just 1.5 year. But there is one company that we see as a very strong competitor, which is Scalar Academy. Scalar Academy, it was a company founded back in India by one of my very good friend almost 4 years ago. They have recently raised $55 million at I think 700 million valuation, as per my understanding, right?
It was
And now
a friend of yours did it, huh?
he's a friend of mine, right?
Oh,
So we have been in touch, and recently and now they will be expanding into the US market. So first thing is, and they got this investment from Sequoia Capital and Tiger Global. So first thing is, it validates the space and this particular model.
mhm.
The second thing is, I mean, when they come into this market, so definitely there will be competition. So we have our own plans on how to establish ourselves uniquely. Although we do not have deep pockets like Scalar Academy at this point of time, but definitely we have strategy, technology to separate us apart. And I think that would give them also a very good market, and the entire, I would say, the job seeker market, like some very good options to learn from both sides. But I think establishing ourselves as a player in specialized platform skills would give us an edge over Scalar or any other competitor in the market.
Yeah, it's the focus, and also, you got to have a business model where you can make money. And the idea of you're sort of taking the recruitment model of taking a percentage of first year wages um, in payment as your primary revenue generator. I think is also very very clever. Now, in terms of where else you could take this. So are there other niches like the technical, like the four categories you explained to me? Are there other does it are there what's around the periphery of that? What other types of upskilling and high counselor approach could you bring to other sectors?
Mhm. So if I talk about like the product roadmap, right, where do we see this product
Mhm.
or the upskilling part going? So the first is focus on the technical skills, and when I talk about this techno-functional roles, it's a broad market. For example, Salesforce is only one type of CRM. We plan to cover at least four major CRM like Zoho, Oracle Cloud. Similarly, then we will jump into
So
insurance.
CRMs, just people don't know, customer relations
Yep,
managers,
yep.
relationship managers. Yeah. So, and they're because they're very important. They tend to be big ticket items, and they tend to sort of a lot of companies sort of get run through their CRMs, wouldn't you say?
Exactly. Yep. I mean, CRM, I mean, there is no enterprise right now in the entire world that could sustain without having one of the uh, famous CRMs, right? With them. Similarly, there are some platforms that are very important in insurance domain, like Guidewire, Fineos. And these are all very highly, I mean, candidate who are equipped with these skills get an entry level salary of about $100,000 or $120,000. That's the entry level salary we are talking about, right? Third platform is security, like cyber security, ping identification, token management. Again,
Mm.
these all platform skills. So our focus is on techno-functional roles in the next 1 to 1.5 year, and that would give us access to about $8 billion market, which is, I think, a huge untapped market, very important one. After that, we plan to grow into other engineering domains like mechanical engineering and electrical engineering. After that, we plan to jump into non-technical roles like sales and marketing, but that is like 2 to 2.5 year down the line when we are already established as a firm.
You may not even have to do that.
It's a
You-
massive market. It's a
yeah,
massive
you may be big enough, but Aditya Sharma from HiCounselor, the founder and CEO, with us here on the Accelerator with Michael Conniff. What's You have done something, and I've talked to a bunch of entrepreneurs now. You're kind of making this look a little too easy. I
market.
don't say that to many entrepreneurs, but what you've done is, I think is truly impressive. And let's talk about your I guess it would be your Series A round. You're thinking in terms of this summer. What will that look, and what will that get you to?
So right
What will
now,
that look like? I should say.
So I mean, right now, as we are raising about 1.75, and we are already in conversation with very many investors who should be done very soon. The idea is that we use this amount, grow into 2 3 fields, right, and have very strong revenue numbers for Q1 and Q2, and we'll start our Series A round at the beginning of Q3 or end of Q2 when we have a very strong number. We already have very strong numbers for the last 1 year, uh, and with that, we plan to raise about 10 to 15 million dollars to grow into about 15 techno functional sectors that are in high demand. And our target market will only be US for our ISA program. For a subscription, definitely we'll be targeting US and the European market both.
Has it been hard to find the teachers, and is it going to be hard to find more teachers?
So actually, finding right teachers is one of the easiest part of this business, and the reason behind that is if you go on LinkedIn and search, say, senior data scientists working in top 10 companies, say Google, Facebook, Amazon, you'll come across at least 20,000 people in the US who are working at these companies in data scientist job role, or say senior software engineer job role. Now the now not every senior data scientist is a good teacher. So what we have done is we have created a curriculum that is that we have prepared in a manner that if we provide the right training, if any person go through it line by line, it will create the same amount of quality education, irrespective of who's teaching it, right? So the entire part of curriculum is prepared in a manner that you can go through it, Michael, right? If you have some background in data science, you can go through it and you'll be able to create a very high quality of education, right?
So you do a
So
lot of work for the teacher, is what you're saying.
I mean, we have spent a lot of time in creating this curriculum and
Mhm.
creating it in a manner that we can train any instructor in a very short period of time. But as I said, as right now we have about 42 instructors at HiCounselor. Not everyone teaches, but a lot of them are backup. Okay. At a time, one cohort only requires 5 instructors. But as we are growing, we can have up to 600 candidates in a classroom. You can imagine that we can
Students, yeah,
easily
candidates, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
we
people
can
looking for
easily reach
jobs.
yeah, we can easily reach like about 150, 100 to 150 million of revenue with just 60 or 70 instructors with us. That's what our calculation was.
Wow. So there's real scalability there. Well,
Mhm.
listen, Aditya Sharma from HiCounselor, the CEO and founder. As you can tell, I'm very impressed. I don't get impressed that easily. And I think the key, you sort of look for certain things. One of them is traction, and you seem to have a lot of that. The other thing that I always find to be critical, but and obvious, is business model. Do you have a business model that really works? That's where I think a lot of startups have trouble. But this one, you've got kind of the other element I like. I think we talked about this once before. Is that in your business model, the student it's is going to pay the 9,000 over the course of $100,000
6 months.
salary. They would pay 9,000 over the course of a year, right?
Six
And
months.
6 months, okay, basically being deducted from their paycheck, so
Yes.
that so that the pain is a little hidden. The
Hmm.
cost is a little hidden. They're paying it; it's a real cost, but but they're paying it kind of under the best circumstances where they're paying that money because it got them $100,000 job. So it just seems like a very very competitive business model, and a very interesting business. And I wish you luck with it. And I want to thank you so much for coming on the accelerator. And I hope you'll come back as these series continue and as you have more data. And I hope your numbers keep going up. Like, we certainly hope so.
For sure. Thank you so much, Michael, for your time. And yeah, I mean, you'll see me again here. I mean, as soon as we raise our next series A round,
Sounds
we'll stay
good.
in touch.
Okay,
Yep.
we'll talk to you soon. And thanks to all of you for listening. This is the Accelerator with Michael Conniff. Great to be here with you in the space between startups, entrepreneurs, founders, and the money people. This has been a great one, and we appreciate your listening and watching. And we'll be back before you know it.
Great.